From KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
A lot of our viewing areas seeing some rain, lightning, hearing some rumbles of thunder as a line of storms move across the area. Adam Caskey is tracking the system. He joins us with a quick look at what's happening right now. Adam.
Yeah, Steve and Myra, here's a look at a picture out of Lytle. This is a hail core that hit the city of Lytle, and that's about quarter size hail there. We have another photo from Lytle of penny size hail, but quarter size is considered severe and damaging. That's about 1 inch in diameter. A lot on the radar screen right now. Most of this is just good soaking rainfall. Those of you east of San Antonio, you're seeing some pop-up thunderstorms, good soaking rain. But what we do have is still some severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, particularly for this little pocket of a thunderstorm in far western Bexar County. This is the same storm that had that hail in Lytle that was larger in nature. It's about to cross over Highway 90 west of 1604. The main problematic area here with this is just north of the city of Atascosa and Lacoste, and this is drifting to the north pretty slowly right now. It's just slowly pushing at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. So that's an area of hail. Those of you on the far west side of town, we're talking Alamo Ranch, even near the Bella Vista subdivision, Military Drive west of 1604. That's where this is going. Okay, this is going northward. So pretend like you're driving north on 1604 on the west side of town. It would be just to the left of you and moving in the same direction. That's this purple area. Primary threat, the large hail there. We are seeing more development off to the west. This is a situation where you just have to wait and see what it happens to do and how it comes together. But this is showing a little more organizations, popping some lightning and thunder there. Nothing severe between Uvalde, Hondo, Pearsall, and Devine yet. We're also closely watching the action that's coming out of Mexico, because this is very important as it moves eastward, crosses the Rio Grande, and interacts with our very unstable air here closer to the Rio Grande at Crystal City, Carrizo Springs. We could see more strengthening and organization to it, and then thereafter we have to watch it and its potential to hit San Antonio and just some locations east of the Rio Grande. So we're watching all this. So far that is not severe. The warnings that we have in effect are there on the far west side of San Antonio and down in McMullen County, a severe thunderstorm warning. That one is drifting to the southeast. We have a lot of erratic movement on the radar this evening. Expect these scattered showers and thunderstorms to be coming and going over the next couple of hours. The severe threat through about 10 p.m. Thereafter, the severe weather threat really falling off, and we're mainly just looking at some spotty hit or miss showers into tomorrow. We'll talk more about that and have another analysis of all this coming right up.
All right, thank you, Adam. Adam showed us what it looks like on radar. This is what it looks like on traffic cameras around town. This is the TransGuide camera at I-35 and Nogalitos. A slowdown there. We haven't seen any major accidents as we've been looking around town. I think we also have 281 in Hildebrand as well, where you see a lot of rain, some slowdowns, just good soaking rain right now in San Antonio.
Now to the biggest vaccine news we have heard in a while. The FDA extending Pfizer's emergency use authorization to children ages 12 to 15.
Adolescents have been in several trials for months now, and companies like Moderna may get the green light sometime soon as well.
Our Courtney Freeman spoke to a Texas emergency room doctor and her 15-year-old daughter, who's been in the Moderna children's vaccine trial since February.
Denise Burgos is a Dallas area emergency room physician and has personally watched COVID atrocities unfold over the past year.
I was ready to get everyone I love vaccinated, and I knew I wanted my kids to be vaccinated too.
She wasn't alone.
I have a lot of physician friends, a lot of physician mom friends. We were constantly talking about this, and we all really made a push to find vaccine trials and to get our kids into them.
Once she felt comfortable, she enrolled her 15-year-old daughter, Anita, in the Moderna trial for kids ages 12 to 17.
My whole family was getting vaccinated, and I felt like I was the only one who didn't get this new exciting window to our old life.
In February, they jumped at the opportunity to do the trial in San Antonio, where they have family.
The trial was getting shot number 1, seeing how you felt, see if you had any reactions, getting blood work, coming back, shot number 2, the same scenario played again. And then in between, a lot of phone calls and telehealth visits.
They say in their trial, 2 out of 3 teens got the real vaccine, and they're feeling pretty confident.
I had never been so pleased to see her with a sore arm and a low-grade fever.
I was like, oh, I don't feel so good. And she's like, yes!
Since then, Anita has felt great and their anxiety has relaxed.
I think this is going to open up the world for our kids. This is going to make all of us feel better about getting together as families. This is going to decrease COVID transmission in all age groups.
They're prepared to continue the trial up to 18 months as researchers try to figure out how long immunity lasts. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
The moratorium on jury service as the result of the pandemic has created a major backup of cases awaiting trial, over 2,000 in criminal courts alone. Paul Venema checked on how judges anxious to clear that backlog are getting ready for the return of in-person trials.
The key to an efficient return to jury trials is advanced preparation, according to District Judge Velia Mesa.
What I have started to do is to narrow down the cases that are going to be priority for trial.
Topping her list of considerations are older cases. Mesa says she's established a list of her top 10 cases to be tried.
If we give priority to the oldest cases, the cases where people have been sitting in jail for 300, 400, 500 days, we're going to start to undo the backlog and start moving cases.
To get cases ready for a jury's consideration, any pretrial matters and motions are being addressed during these daily pretrial hearings that Mesa is conducting. Each judge is responsible for resolving their own court's backlog.
As judges, we have to have our cases ready, and so that involves the parties being here in person, having their pretrial matters ruled on, so that we don't have to worry about those issues when the panel is here.
With a trial schedule now in place, ideally when that jury arrives here in court, it'll be game on. Paul Venema, KSAT 12 News.
Well, if you're gassing up the SUV, expect to pay more. Prices on the rise. In fact, they're up 12 cents here in just the past week. Don't blame the hacked petroleum pipeline shutdown, though. Industry analysts tell us the temporary shutdown may affect states to the east of us, but Texas still has plenty of fuel. What's driving up prices locally? Increased demand. AAA says it expects nearly 3 million Texans will hit the roads for Memorial Day weekend, a 60% rebound from last year.
A major factor contributing to the increased travel this year is certainly the CDC's recently updated guidance that fully vaccinated people can travel domestically at low risk to themselves while taking precautions.
The average price at the pump today in San Antonio, $2.59 a gallon. Get this, a year ago, it was $1.40.
From job losses to not having enough money to pay their rent, those are some of the struggles that veterans are facing amid this pandemic. Some veterans are living in shelters or even on the streets of San Antonio. Our Tiffany Huertas looks at the current homeless veteran situation here in Military City, USA, and what factors play into seeing fewer veterans in local shelters.
Many of these veterans, for example, were unemployed and so couldn't pay their apartments, their homes, and then found themselves on the streets for the very first time.
Retired Army Colonel Sergio Dickerson says some veterans ended up living on the streets due to COVID-19 challenges. Dickerson is with the American GI Forum National Veterans Outreach Program, a local organization that provides housing, mental, and employment services for veterans.
We had a situation during the pandemic period where we had a lot of veterans seek our services.
In the latest homeless census count released yesterday, there was a 23% decrease in the number of veterans in local shelters. Dickerson says thanks to additional funding through the CARES Act, they were able to pool veterans from shelters and place them in housing. He says the eviction moratorium also played a role in this.
The CDC moratorium that kept folks from being evicted. So a lot of veterans that had some significant arrears were not evicted from their apartments, so they were able to remain.
There are no exact numbers for the unsheltered population this year. Dickerson believes the number is lower than previous years, but says there are still those in need.
You are not alone. We're here to help you.
Dickerson says programs for housing veterans must continue. With the eviction moratorium ending soon, he says many veterans could end up on the streets. To learn more about services for veterans, visit KSAT.com. Tiffany Huertas, KSAT 12 News.
Click it or ticket. We've heard the phrase before, but San Antonio police reinforcing that message with a brand new 17-foot tall message board outside the Mission Marquee Plaza on Roosevelt Avenue. According to SAPD, in 2020 alone, there were 63 crashes where drivers and passengers sustained fatal or serious injuries, which could have been prevented by wearing a seatbelt. And across the state last year, police say more than 2,700 people could have been saved.
We have Memorial Day coming up. A lot of people will be out there on the roadways. And so maybe more than anything, we just want to keep everybody safe.
From May 24th until June 6th, Texas law enforcement will be stepping up efforts to ticket unbelted drivers and passengers.
New at 6, now hiring signs seem to be everywhere right now, despite the job losses that we saw during the pandemic. Experts say that could eventually change now that more people are being vaccinated. Jesse Degollado says the reason many places are so short-staffed may not be what you think.
President Joe Biden spoke directly to people who haven't gone back to work yet.
We're going to make it clear that anyone collecting unemployment who is offered a suitable job must take the job or lose their unemployment benefits.
After all, he says it's the law. The jobs are out there, but many still don't want them. So are the generous unemployment and COVID relief benefits keeping them at home? Not necessarily. The Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago found that actually job seekers on unemployment search intensely for new work, and their effort appears to be somewhat greater than that of the unemployed not receiving benefits.
Unfortunately, politics tends to play a part in a lot of these policy discussions.
Dr. Thomas Tunstall says at least now they have the money to hire a babysitter while they look for work, buy gas, and maybe better clothes for job interviews before their benefits run out.
Poverty really does tax you mentally and keeps people from being at their best, from contributing to the overall economy the way they might otherwise.
He says maybe now Congress will finally look at a higher minimum wage, more of a living wage. An example, it said many workers don't want to be vaccinated because they can't afford to lose a day's pay to recover from any side effects.
You know, maybe that's one of the silver linings of COVID, that it's sort of alerted us to something that wasn't necessarily apparent prior to this most recent economic and health crisis.
Jesse Degollado, KSAT 12 News.
Let's turn back to the weather now. We know we've got storms in our area, and this picture proves it. Some big, dark clouds over San Antonio right now, Adam.
Yeah, and Myra, we're looking off to the northwest, I believe, where we're starting to see even further development. So the north. Okay, this is looking southwest. We're seeing more development to the northwest. These things are all around us.
They're all over us.
They're all around us right now. But the new development is to the northwest. So today we made it up to 86, but temperature is going to drop off quite a bit. Just warning you, we cooled off already in San Antonio. Tomorrow is going to be a very different day. Severe thunderstorm watch in effect for most of our area until 10 p.m. So the primary threat time is up through about 10 p.m. Right now we have a hail core that's right along 1604 and Highway 90 on the far west side of town. Okay, this is pushing northward toward Potranco Road in 1604. Military Drive area there, just west of 1604. I think Gulm Elementary School right there in the vicinity. This is pushing north. We're gonna analyze this and take a look at the other storms coming right up.
Another evening of spring storms in our area. We're hearing that heavy rain here in the downtown area, Adam, and it seems like this is pretty widespread across a good portion of San Antonio.
Yeah, and some hail out there. I mean, if people see this hail, take a picture, send it in to us. We would love to see what's happening in your area right now.
Yeah, and the easiest way to do that is through our KSAT Weather Authority app. On the lower right, there's a little icon of a camera that says pins, like storm pins, and just go through there. That's easy. So that's what I want to start with here before we jump into the radar. Take a look at the Lackland area. That's some super heavy rainfall. It's coming off the roof and puddling up on that walkway and on the lawn there. This is some about dime-sized hail estimated by this viewer. This is on the far west side of town. And then this is from Alamo Ranch, that HEB looking southward. And that's the direction where the storm will be coming from. So that's what we're seeing. Our folks are viewers out there are seeing SeaWorld area. This is about to hit you. I'm actually moving into the SeaWorld area as we speak. And the hail mainly is stretching from 410 to 1604 here, right between the two, just south of Calabria Road, north of Lackland Terrace neighborhood and north of Marbach Road. So between Calabria and Marbach and 410 and 1604, that's where we have most of the hail with this storm and the potential for about 1-inch diameter hail, and that is moving northward. So that's moving northward. Alamo Ranch, you'll be up next as well. It's not quite there yet, but you could get clipped by some of that larger hail. I mentioned elsewhere on the northwest side of town earlier, where look at this. You get up into Mico, Lake Hills, Pipe Creek, Bandera area, and now another round moving into Bernie. Bernie had some several hours ago. You'll get a little bit more. This just continues to develop out to the west. And a lot of this is more of an east-northeasterly movement to you. The movement is very erratic with these storms. It was the same way yesterday, and that's the way it is right now. It's a wait and see to figure out exactly where they're going to go. This action moving through Floresville, moving eastward. Sutherland Springs area now moving east as well and moving out of Seguin toward Gonzales. We've got some decent, good soaking rainfall east of town, north of Hallettsville. This is just good soaking rain. Most of what we have is not even severe in nature and not damaging in nature, but a lot of lightning associated with it. Very lit up out there in terms of these storms. We get a better view of the lightning when we tilt like this. All those white lines, those are basically exact locations of cloud to ground lightning strikes within these storms. Another good view to especially analyze the potential for hail is you get that 3D view. I like to do that. We're going to turn off the lightning just so it doesn't get in the way. But this is a good way to check out some storm structure within the storm and kind of how it's looking at the given time. So you look at this whole area right here. We're going to redraw this and then move it around a little bit. And it gives you more of a three-dimensional view of these storms and can tell us just how tall they are. The taller the storm, the more likely it has large hail. The shorter the storm, the more likely it doesn't, or the least likely it has large hail. It looks like the storm that had the 1-inch diameter hail in San Antonio is actually starting to shrink a little bit, and the activity closer to Bernie and Pipe Creek is actually getting a little bit larger. So that's something we watch as well. We like to keep an eye on. I also want to look far west of town. We're talking earlier in the newscast. That's where we've been watching some activity coming out of Mexico and moving into some of our western counties there and some development down there. Carrizo Springs area, just even particularly Dimmitt County, west of Cotulla. We just have to watch everywhere this evening because the activity keeps coming and going and keeps popping up here, popping up there, moving here, moving there. And we'll stay on top of it. And when we're not in a newscast, we will be live on the KSAT Weather Authority app, right in the palm of your hand to keep you updated. Enable the push alerts and you'll be able to know right when we're on. So tomorrow, some hit or miss light showers. That's the way it's looking. About 30% coverage. Then we have a few days off. Here we go again into the weekend. Storm chances back into the picture by Saturday, Sunday, and even into Monday. There's a cold front, a boundary. Look at this, 96 Laredo, 69 in Kerrville. That boundary pushes southward, and this evening, temperatures generally right around the 70-degree mark. Severe threat ends by midnight. Tomorrow, just some light areas of rain, a little breezy, only in the 60s all day. Few days off, making it back to 80 on Friday with some sunshine, and then those scattered storms possible this weekend.
This stretch of spring keeping us on our toes. Thanks, Adam.
All right, the Spurs taking their last regular season road trip, Greg?
That's true. They're in New York as we speak. They'll play 2 games there before they come back home and play the same team twice to wrap up the regular season. But the magic number is down to 1. Just 1 victory for the Spurs or 1 loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. And they're in the play-in tournament and the first San Antonio Quarterback Club meeting of the season coming up. Just when the Spurs needed to win the most, they come through and with a statement victory over one of the beasts of the East, the Milwaukee Bucks, anchored by the reigning most valuable player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, this victory came just 10 days after the Spurs blew a 32-point lead in Boston, and doing so snapped the Bucks' 5-game win streak. Started with a 3-esta led by Patty Mills and Rudy Gay, who combined 9 out of 15 from three-point range. In doing so, the Spurs set a franchise record by scoring 87 points in the first half, tied another record for the most three-pointers in the first half with 12. DeMar DeRozan would lead the Spurs with 23. 23, followed by DeJounte Murray's 21, then Patty Mills and Keldon Johnson with 20 each, the 146-125 victory.
Wondering what he's going to come up with next.
It was a good night against, a hell of a team, championship caliber team, well coached. We have to be just thrilled with it, but not too satisfied. And, we're still in a big battle.
We know, coming back after a long away stretch, usually coming home, we don't really play up to the level that we usually can play to. But we know these last few games mentally, we got to lock in. So I know everybody was ready to play against Milwaukee. We gave up one at their home, and we knew, coming here, we had to pick it up. They're a great team, so we had to play the best of our capability, and we just came up with the win.
This victory was especially sweet for Patty Mills, who struggled in the second half of the season with 40 games in 68 days, playing just about every other night. He admits at 32 this COVID-compressed 72-game season has been tough on him, and his stats back him up. In April, he shot just 34% for the field, 31% from three-point range, and got even worse to start the final month of May at 23 and 21% respectively. But he rebounded last night big time, making 7 out of 10 shots from the field for 70%, 6 out of 9 from three-point range for 67%.
That's a true veteran player right there. He understands the ups and downs of this whole thing, and he know how to pull himself out of it. That's a true professional, true veteran, and he showed it tonight.
Final road trip of the season starts tomorrow against Brooklyn at 7 p.m. The victory over the Milwaukee Bucks is magnified by the fact that New Orleans Pelicans, hot on the heels of the Spurs, for that 10th and final spot in the play-in tournament, to the Memphis Grizzlies last night, losing there, playing without Zion Williamson, who's out with a fractured finger. The Grizzlies took advantage. Dylan Brooks led the charge at 23 points, secures the very worst an appearance in the play-in tournament for the Grizzlies, 115-110. The Pelicans, who were within striking distance of the Spurs to start the night, a game and a half back at 11, have now fallen to 2.5 back with 3 to play, meaning the Spurs' magic number to secure a spot in the play-in tournament is now 1 with 4 games to play. As we said, 3 for the Pelicans. Here's a look at the latest Western Conference standings, and they're with the asterisk, by the way, of people that have already secured a playoff. Utah, Phoenix, Clippers, and Denver, along with Dallas and Portland in the top 6. And when you look at the play-in tournament schedule, the Lakers are in there now, followed by Golden State, Memphis, San Antonio for now. New Orleans, as you can see, now 2.5 back with 3 to play. First meeting of the San Antonio Quarterback Club this season. Its new location is Sherrill Hills Baptist Church. And Luca is the first guest. UTSA head coach Jeff Traylor, coming off a very successful first season as a Roadrunners coach, leading his team to a 5-2 Conference USA record, a 7-win season, only the second bowl appearance in team history. Can he top that this coming season?
We were in every ball game, so we're not far away. We just got a couple of places on the roster we got to fix recruiting-wise, and we think we've addressed that in the offseason. And need to stay healthy in certain positions. And, of course, football can bounce some crazy ways. A little bit of luck along the way always helps.
And one of the things he boasts about is they have 12 what they call super seniors who are coming back for that extra year of eligibility.
All right. Should be an exciting season.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
We'll be right back. From addressing homelessness to the refusal to release body camera footage and, of course, the battle against the pandemic here at home. Lots to talk about with San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg, who is joining us for today's KSAT Q&A. Mayor, thanks for your time. Thanks for being here. Over the last couple of days, we have reported on the issue of homelessness in San Antonio, specifically the city's development of a strategy in terms of how to address that. Can you talk about what has changed over the last year in terms of our homeless community and what the city's goals are when it comes to ways to combat homelessness?
Well, a lot has changed in terms of the pressures on the community in terms of homelessness, because we've seen, the homeless population struggle just as the rest of our community has in a time of COVID. Now, I'll tell you that the overall approach to addressing homelessness begins with understanding that being without a home itself is not the issue. Underlying that is a whole host of challenges that the homeless population struggles with, and that ranges from issues of domestic violence to mental illness to substance abuse that are highly correlated with the homeless population. So what we're trying to do is establish trust with the homeless population to meet individuals and help them address the underlying root causes of homelessness that ultimately can eradicate the issue altogether. If we don't do that and we simply are abating homeless encampments, they end up popping up somewhere else. So we have to address the root causes of homelessness as we work to identify the gaps in resources that would allow us to do it comprehensively.
And Mr. Mayor, homelessness was something that was a concern in our Fairfax KSAT San Antonio report poll even before the pandemic. And now, it seems as if certainly in downtown areas, it's become more visible with some of the encampments that we're seeing. You talked about the three major factors that certainly play a part, and mental health is such a big part of this whole thing. And a lot of times there's just not the beds to get some of these people the treatment that they need. I mean, is that one of the things that you can zero in on and say, let's do a better job of making these beds available?
We are. In fact, I met with the county judge yesterday, and we are working towards identifying where those gaps are in places in our community, but also utilizing this next step out of the pandemic and the resources that are being made available through federal relief funds and local dollars to increase the number of beds with those services attached to them. So again, it's not just simply about having the shelter capacity or the bed capacity available. You have to also have the restitutional services attached to those resources. So that's absolutely one of our areas of focus. I will mention that we have our 5-year homeless strategic plan that has been briefed and now under implementation now with the city. The county and the city be working very diligently on that issue.
Let's talk about the pandemic. It seems like the city right now is facing a new challenge, a new phase in the effort to fight COVID-19 in terms of getting more people to get the vaccine. It looks like the city needs to convince people who are hesitant to get it or change the minds of people who say that they don't want it. Yesterday, you all had Little Joe at the daily briefing, adding some celebrity, his personal account of having COVID-19 to certainly try to reach people. Talk about what the city is trying to do to reach those, convince those who have not gotten the vaccine yet.
Yeah, and I think that in one part, it may be hesitancy, but we're also just seeing a little bit of apathy, frankly, because the doses are available. They're plentiful in our community. We've now crossed the threshold in which we can truly say that anybody who wants a vaccine can get one here in San Antonio if they're eligible. And everyone over 16 is eligible very soon. It'll be 12 to 15-year-olds as well. So what we're trying to do is to build upon the success that we've had with the mass vaccination sites and start taking the vaccine out through mobile pop-up clinics everywhere in our community that people are at. So we've been working over the last month or so with different community organizations, community centers, working with their membership roles and having those community organizations contact their members, their communities, and providing the vaccines to them. We were at Antioch Church the other day, very successful event. So we're going to places where people are rather than having people have to come to a mass vaccination site. That's going to continue. I just went to the Dome today. I got my second shot today. And for the last week, our state guard, National Guard, has been training up on providing some relief to the men and women who have been running that mass vaccination site so we can start deploying more forces out into the community to do these pop-up sites. But we have enough vaccines. We have now almost 1 million people that have had at least one shot. There's going to be more people that are eligible, the young 12 to 15 population. So now we need to start going out to the community a lot more. And that's already starting to happen.
You just took my next question. I was going to say, aren't you due for your second shot coming up here? So I'm glad to hear that you got it.
So just an hour ago.
Talk about body cam. With Prop B failing, there's still 49% of the population in San Antonio wants more accountability, wants more transparency. You have talked about your desire to have that as well. A body cam footage policy was implemented, but we haven't seen any increase in body cam footage that's necessarily been released at this point. As a matter of fact, it seems as if the police chief is putting more parameters for what he will and won't release. Is there any frustration on your part that we're not seeing more body cam footage in some of these incidents?
Well, we want to have fewer incidents to start. That would be the ultimate goal is to have fewer unnecessary incidents in our community that involve shooting and violence. But yes, we want disclosure. I think that the bright light of public scrutiny is always the best when it comes to these incidents, and putting the body cam footage out there is I think necessary for that level of transparency and understanding of how these events take place. Ultimately, that's where we want to get. We do have now a body cam policy that takes from the practices that we've seen in other cities, best practices, that still provides a place on the city website where if the body cam footage is not released, there has to be a clear written statement from the police chief as to why that is. That's our policy. Do have to make clear, though, that the discretion that the police chief has over release of body cam footage is in state statute. So we do have to work within state statute, but we've created a policy now that provides better disclosure. I want to see that practice a little bit more forthright, a little bit more often as we have these incidents, and I believe that will happen.
We're going to keep following that policy to see how it's put into practice. I know there are several cases we are waiting to see whether footage actually will be released. Mayor Ron Nirenberg, thanks for your time this evening.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Hope you brought your umbrella. We'll be right back.
Broadway fan favorites are coming back. 3 of Broadway's biggest shows have announced they are reopening. Lion King, Hamilton, and Wicked will resume performances September 14th. Show producers say the theaters will open at 100% capacity while following guidelines set by the Centers for Disease Control and state authorities.
Broadway's been dark during most of the pandemic. Last week, the governor of New York authorized performances to resume starting May 19th. But the shows need time to ramp back up. Live productions in New York employ about 100,000 workers. Other shows have also announced opening dates later in the year.
Got a bit of a show of our own here happening with live cam. Take a look at that. Those big clouds, they just keep rolling our way, Adam. These things look dark.
Yeah, and we've got just a variety of storms out there right now. Mostly just good soaking rainfall is what we're primarily looking at. We have this batch right here that's moving out of the downtown area, crossing north. This is through Castle Hills, about to hit Hill Country Village and Hollywood Park and Bulverde. But then we also have this other area, this line that's developing from Bernie down to Mico, Lake Hills, Hondo. This is all pushing eastward as well. Put this all into motion and you'll see those storms in San Antonio moving north, and this line that's starting to come together. A lot of lightning and thunder and heavy rain, small hail with it. That's starting to push eastward. Coming up in a few minutes, I'll time that out for you. But far south of San Antonio, very lit up, especially southern LaSalle County, southern McMullen County, even the potential for rotation there in southern McMullen County. That's where we do have a tornado warning in effect. So we'll take a closer look at all this and time some of it out for you in a few minutes.
Remember some years in the spring and summer, they'd call San Antonio a rain island, like it would split and go around San Antonio? Mm-hmm. Yeah, not so much this year.
We are getting our fair share these last couple of weeks, Adam.
Hey, don't get me started on the whole bubble thing that we hear from everybody everywhere. We're in a bubble. They split around us every time. Okay, we hear that. It's usually not factual, and scientifically you usually can't prove it. But anyway, right now, a lot of the activity is moving into San Antonio, and there's a line that's developing off to the west. So we'll time it out for you. It's moving fairly slowly, which should leave some good soaking rain in its path. Let's look right now at our KSAT Connect, or our storm pins, which is through our KSAT Weather Authority app. And this is San Antonio, of course, water on the lawn. That's nice to see because it wasn't that long ago when we were seeing cracks on the lawn and dirt separating because it was so dry. So we like what we see. However, we do have a potential for some damaging and severe weather farther south of San Antonio. We're talking southern McMullen County here, that southeastern corner. That's where we have a tornado warning in effect. That's just moving outside the KSAT 12 viewing area right now. Doppler radar indicated another severe thunderstorm, southern LaSalle County. That's got more of a northeastern movement. The movement is all over the place. Literally, these storms are moving in every direction except for west. They all have their own independent movement, and that's what we're seeing out there. We also are indicating larger hail here in Wilson County, and there could be a severe thunderstorm warning coming on with that shortly. That's in Wilson County, just east of Floresville, moving away from Floresville, but moving through Stockdale. And this, I believe, is moving to the southeast right now. And Smiley, you've got some run-of-the-mill thunderstorms at the moment, nothing severe at this time. What we're also watching is this line off to the west that's approaching I-35 south of town, Devine, Pearsall, Dilley. That's all headed in. But other locations, even we're talking Mico, Lake Hills, Bernie, it's hitting you right now. And this is about to move into Bexar County and affect the western portions of San Antonio. We have that one batch moving northward through Hollywood Park, Chavano Park, right up 281 as well. And that's going to move into Stone Oak. But then we have this other batch, this line right here, that's got its own track that's moving easterly. So it's basically meeting up with that shower right there. Redraw this and we can give you some communities basically in the path of this and give you an estimate of when it may make it into your neck of the woods and to your neighborhood. Again, slow moving. We're talking about 20 miles per hour with this. So that puts it at Rio Medina at about 651, Devine at 654, Castroville 705, Bulverde 713, Chavano Park, the next batch in Chavano Park would be about 719, and Lytle 724, Castle Hills, the next batch at about 734. So that gives you a rough idea of that action. Then here we go, new severe thunderstorm warning. This is for Wilson, Karnes County, southern Gonzales, and western DeWitt County. That's until 7:45 p.m. Likely the primary threat here is large hail within this thunderstorm, about 1 inch in diameter near Stockdale. That's where we have these purples and the higher reflectivity values. So I like to pop up the main analysis of the threats and just south of Stockdale. And that's where the 1 to 2 inch diameter hail is possible within that storm. That's just west of Gillett there. And this is moving to the southeast at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. So there we go. We'll say 25. So Yorktown, say it stays intact. That hail could make it to you by about 7:45 p.m. Otherwise, here in San Antonio, I want to put you at ease. The hail threat is very minimal with this right now. The way it looks, this is just a line of heavy rain that's setting up, that's getting ready to move into San Antonio and Bexar County over the next hour and a half or so. Mainly garden variety action, just some good soaking rain associated with it. A few pockets of severe weather have been present this afternoon and into the evening, but it looks like what we have right now moving in from the west is mainly just some rain with some pockets of penny-sized hail. All right, really quickly here, moving on, show you the 7-day forecast and what we're expecting here. Tomorrow we'll have some off and on light showers, gray sky, cooler, only in the 60s. We're not expecting any thunderstorms or big severe weather. Then we dry out Thursday, Friday. Get ready for the chance of some pop-up thunderstorms into the weekend and early next week when we could see a little more sporadic severe activity.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
In case you missed it, coming up next. Here's today's In Case You Missed It.
It is Tuesday. It is May 11th.
A firearms instructor with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office has been arrested after complaints of inappropriate behavior with cadets. 48-year-old Toribio Gutierrez accused of inappropriately touching at least one cadet during classes that happened the week of March 5th.
Salazar says 4 other cadets in the same class reported their own complaints about Gutierrez.
Gutierrez has been with the department since June of 1997. Sheriff Salazar says going forward, male instructors will no longer be allowed to work alone with female cadets. They're investigating whether there are any other incidents in past classes.
Storms rolling in overnight, some strong enough to cause a scare. Over on the northeast side, fire crews say a lightning strike hit a house and caused a small fire.
Crews put it out fast. No one was hurt. However, those storms stayed vigilant.
A reminder now, if you haven't filed your taxes yet, the deadline for people who file taxes outside of Texas is May 17th. But anyone who files in the state of Texas still has more than a month left to take care of it. The IRS first extended the tax deadline to May 17th because of the pandemic, but Texas was given extra time because of the February winter storms.
Well, as the past couple of weeks have proven, when it comes to San Antonio in the springtime, there is a good chance we're going to see some significant hail. You may be be used to it, but there's a lot about the science behind it you may not be aware of. That's the topic of this week's episode of KSAT Explains. Our show all about hail premieres tonight at 7 on KSAT.com. You can watch it live. We'll post the full episode later this evening so you can watch it on demand.
All right, here's a look at the shelf cloud that's been moving through South Texas. Looks ominous. It's not doesn't necessarily mean we have a severe thunderstorm moving in. Right now, nothing severe in or around San Antonio, just some good rainfall. You got inches on the right-hand side. That's 1.5 inches in the city of Atascosa in the southwestern portion of Bexar County. Look at the rainfall over the past 24 hours. This is what we like to see, and we continue to add to this as well because we've got more activity that's headed into town. We've got this line that's been coming together out west that's moving east, but basically hitting I-35 south of San Antonio. In San Antonio on the north side of town, moving through Stone Oak, especially west of 281. Got some heavy rain, and then this next batch is pushing eastward. Some lightning and thunder associated with it, maybe some pea-sized hail, but that's it. Coming up at 7:15 p.m., Katie Blake and I will be on the KSAT Weather Authority app, tracking this all live for you in the palm of your hand.
See you on the Night Beat.